Hi guys, welcome to the Football Nation. Tonight we talk about Antonio Conte's massive outburst towards the Spurs players and hierarchy, as well as all the major talking points. Keep us tuned in to find out what we're talking about. Hello and welcome to the Football Nation, guys. Tonight we are joined by our my co-host and partner in crime, Jono. Jono, how are you tonight?
I am good, thank you.
As well, we've got below me tonight, Mr. Crazy Boom. How are you tonight? How's the voice from last night?
I'm good. Recovered. My love affair for Evan Ferguson has continued in good fashion.
I believe we're going to have some Irish content this week, Mr. Boom.
Oh, yes.
Nice. And we have got a special guest tonight. Since we're talking about Spurs, let's have a Spurs fan on. Harry, thank you very much for joining us last minute. How are you tonight?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Good. So, Jono, do you want to start us off with the FA Cup games that were over the weekend?
I will. And we had some cracking games in the FA Cup quarter-finals. And we start with Manchester City 6-0 against Burnley. Erling Haaland is still on fire. He's a robot, as we know. And he can't stop scoring. He
couldn't even score a double hat-trick. Fraud.
He had a madness against Leipzig, and he's just continued it into this game. Over 40 goals now.
It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
How many goals do we think he's going to end the season on?
60 plus.
I mean, they got Sheffield United in the next round, so he'd probably score a hat-trick there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was dubbed the Vincent Company Derby, but I don't think Burnley got that memo, to be fair. Well, I say I do Burnley a wee bit of injustice. They'd done well in the first 10 minutes, then Man City just kind of ran over them a little bit.
It's too much for him, didn't they?
Yeah. What did you think about it, Harry?
Yeah, as you said, I thought Burnley, they they were in the game first 10, 15 minutes, but Man City, they just stepped up another level and just, Burnley won a match for them. I thought I'm surprised by the scoreline. Obviously, being 6-0, I think it's quite surprising. Vincent Company going back to Etihad. I never thought they'd go there and win Burnley. There's always that little bit of chance, I thought, of an upset going into that. But yeah, City, Haaland, just far too good.
Yeah, definitely. It pains me how good he is. What about you, Boom? What's your thoughts on that game?
I just think it was just a typical result. I think Burnley are going to do all right next season, but they're not up there with the best in the Premier League just yet. They have a long way to go for that. It's just a lesson for them of how that they're. It's a good lesson to have before you go in, because they're definitely being in the Premier League next season.
Oh yeah, it's basically won the league already, but they're having a great season. Basically,
you take it as kind of like the United game in the Carabao Cup. It's just a lesson for next season. What you need, the standards you need to try and work towards eventually.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. That was going to be my next question. How do you think Burnley will get on next season in the Premier League when they come up? Do you think they need to spend a wee bit more money this time around? Do you think Company will get that money? That's the question.
The problem with that is that they are in a bit of trouble transfer-wise. Burnley at a particular moment, which means I don't think they will get anything to spend.
Yeah,
I think the one thing they've got on their side compared to the last time, it is a very young squad. They made a lot of changes to that Burnley squad from a team that done really well under Sean Dyche, and everyone who watches this podcast know how much respect I have for Sean Dyche, what he done at Burnley. And I was pushing him for that Everton job, and I think he will succeed there. But there's respect for what he done at Burnley, but that team was getting on a bit. It was and it did need.
I think
refreshing,
Burnley
and
could
it is
relatively
basically
be
a new
mid-table.
team, so I think Burnley will stay up.
What about you, Harry? How do you think they'll get on next season?
I'm not going to say if they're going to stay up or not, but I don't think they spend a lot of money. But I think you kind of expect with Burnley, like you say, they're in a difficult position when it comes to transfers financially. It's definitely a completely different Burnley teams, much younger, younger manager in Vincent Kompany. I'm sure we'll get onto it, but a manager I wouldn't actually mind at Spurs. I think long-term project. I think it'd be quite exciting. But assuming he's their manager next season, I think they'd be okay. I think it'd be interesting to see adaptation to the style of play. It's a different Burnley, not the Burnley we're used to seeing. I reckon they'll be all right. I think they will be okay. But yeah, it's interesting. But it depends if you look at the positive or negative side of it with Burnley in terms of like the transfer situation, the style of football. So yeah, I definitely think they'll be in the Premier League next season. That's for sure.
I don't
Michael Obafemi keeps them up. Not biased whatsoever.
Of course, you had to get him in.
Exactly.
Of course.
I'm not sure this result would have helped his CV for the role, but I reckon he'll be the next City manager after Pep leaves.
I don't know about that.
Might be not after Pep leaves, but he'll definitely be down the line, I reckon.
Yeah, a couple of years, maybe 7 or 8 years, maybe. Yeah, but yeah. So next game, this is a bit of a topsy-turvy game to say the least. Sheffield United 3, Blackburn 2.
Dodgy VAR decision for that first goal.
No, there's no VAR on it. Remember, because they don't have VAR.
Dodgy decision. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's cracking goals though. Brilliant goals.
Yeah.
40-yard screamer.
I mean, where do you start? I mean, how do you start with this game? It was just a bit of a typical FA Cup game, if you will. It was like all guns. Let's just go for it and see what happens.
It's one of those games where I wanted it to go to extra time. It was that entertaining.
Yeah. I mean,
game.
Boom. What was your overall opinion about the game on Saturday lunchtime? Wasn't it?
I thought it was a fairly even game between the two of them. They both tried to win it. They both could have won it, and sadly for the winner, he might not even get to play in the semi-final because the parent club has to allow it.
Tommy Doyle, isn't it?
Yeah, I think over both legs, I think Sheffield United deserved it, but Blackburn did play really well. I think it could have went either way, but I think with that, especially with that decision, I think Sheffield United deserved it over Blackburn. It could have went either way. I think it was a cracking game.
Yeah.
What about you, Harry?
Yeah, I agree with what most of you say. I think it was a great game, fairly even, but I think Sheffield United just about edged it overall. Like you say, it's frustrating as a Tottenham fan because I know that if we'd beaten Sheffield United, we would have been the ones playing Blackburn Rovers. And I'm not going to say it's a guaranteed spot to Wembley, but it's an easier spot, let's say, to Wembley.
Yeah.
That's certainly a missed opportunity.
And your record against Man City is pretty good.
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends what Tottenham you get. But so I think it's a bit of a missed opportunity. But on the day, you had two good sides who were very, very close. And another day, Blackburn could have gone through.
Yeah. I mean, if you kind of put a different spin, it gives a wee bit more time for Blackburn to maybe concentrate and get into the playoffs as well. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword. I mean, you get the day out to Wembley, or do you concentrate on the Premier League? So getting promotion to the Premier League. So and same as Sheffield United as well, but they've got a semi-final to deal with. How is that going to have a knock-on effect on maybe their playoff credentials as well? Yeah. So
again, they've got some stuff around financial fair play with Sheffield United and the ownership there.
Yeah,
that could affect them going into the next part of the season as well. I think it's something to speak with the old owners and the new owners.
Sheffield will want to be pretty much promoted by the time they get to that semi-final, but they don't have to.
Yeah, definitely.
But Mr. Carrick is right on their tail at the moment.
Yeah.
And his middle spotter.
Doing well.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we have Brighton 5, Grimsby Town 0. Brighton just had too much for Grimsby. What a season Brighton.
Evan Ferguson had too much for Grimsby now.
See this Irish loving. What's going on to
Any chance to pick up Evan Ferguson? 2 goals for him.
Evan Ferguson, Obafemi, who's next?
Continue that form into the Ireland match, you know.
I felt sorry for Grimsby. They see if they got maybe Sheffield United or Blackburn, they might have had a chance. But the way Brighton are playing just now, they're playing some nice football, scoring a lot of goals.
It was a step too much for Grimsby at this point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. They had an upgrade as manager, so I guess.
Yeah, I think honestly, on the day, I think Brighton had just far too much for Grimsby, and I think we knew that, before kickoff. But overall, looking at it, you've got to look at the bigger perspective. Grimsby done really well to get where they got.
Yeah,
I think the fans appreciated that. A final whistle, that was great to see. But yeah, their cup run did come to an end. But overall, Brighton were just too good for them. But it's an impressive cup run for them. They got not much to regret from that.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Where about you, Ben? What do you think about it? Apart from Evan Ferguson.
Most of their attack played pretty well in that game, Brighton. They were just all over Grimsby just didn't have the ability to defend that sort of opposition at this point in their career. And I cannot say enough about Evan Ferguson, to be honest with you, Chris.
See,
because we haven't had a striker in so long that is actually good.
I'm going to get a tip jar. See, for the next time you're on, Boom. See, next time you say Evan Ferguson, I'm going to put £1 in every single time. I'm going to be a millionaire by the end.
Listen, you should see the amount of times I talked to him on the thing I recorded yesterday.
But yeah, it's. I mean, it was the kind of magic FA Cup for Grimsby, and fair play to them. I mean, I watched some of the game against Brighton. And their fans didn't stop singing for the full 94, 95 minutes, whatever it was. That's what the game's all about.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
I do love FA Cup weekend. It's just different. You don't know what to expect.
Exactly. I mean, again, with the game we just talked about before, Sheffield United Blackburn, is again magically the FA Cup. It's 2 teams going hell for leather. Again, Grimsby getting to the quarterfinals of probably one of the biggest trophies in especially in England. They've done their town proud. They've done the players done the fans proud, and yeah, fair play to them. I hope they do well in the end of the season.
Yeah, it's just a shame. I don't think, even as a fan of one of the bigger clubs, I don't think the FA Cup gets the respect it deserves compared to it did, like, say 5-10 years ago. Yeah, which is sad because it's like one of the oldest trophies in the book, and it is that second trophy in England after obviously the Prem. But it's like, and honestly, I'd rather we won the FA Cup than Europa League this season as a United fan, because I've always loved that.
Fair enough.
FA Cup.
And the last game. Now, Manchester.
Speaking of the magic of the FA Cup, Fulham blew theirs.
What was going to say? I was going to say the madness of the FA Cup with this game.
Fulham blew their magic. They had them. It was all in Fulham's hand. They were going to win it. I even said it with my dad. We were watching this, and I was like, "We're going to lose this game. We're losing it. We're going to." There was no way we were getting back into that game. I was saying to me and my dad were agreeing with that. There was no way. This is just one of those games where we're just absolutely terrible. It's going to end 1-0 to Fulham or 2-0 to Fulham because that's what it looked like.
Yeah, I mean, Man United 3, Fulham 1.
They just exploded in 1 minute.
What happened?
Well, first of all, it was Sancho takes quite a long time to shoot. I thought he messed up completely when he went in there. But then Willian ran back in and touched it with his hand away. Rather than just letting Sancho, rather than putting his body in there, he just kind of hit straight for his hand, which is you can do in the moment when you're not thinking, but it's definitely a penalty at that point. But at that point, you're still in at 1-1. You still have a chance. Yeah. You're just down to 10 men. It's manageable. You can try and get it to score a goal then. But then, for some reason, their manager decided to talk to the referee while he's looking at a screen, which is something you don't do. And then Mitrovic decides to pick a fight with the ref just after that.
That
But-
one was a red. That's definitely a red.
It was
Yeah.
definitely a red.
100%.
I mean, I remember I was watching. I was kind of flicking in between the Formula One and the game on Sunday
Yeah.
because they kind of they stupidly put them on the exact same time. I mean, how rude! I mean,
know.
imagine putting the Formula One race and the FA Cup on the exact same time. Jesus Christ! I mean, who would have thought the scheduling? But I was watching that, so I seen the goal that went in. I was like, right, cool. I'll check it. I'll check back, and then literally bedlam broke loose. It was like I seen the handball, which I think from a few angles that I've watched from, I think was going wide. The shot from Sancho.
Yeah,
It
that's what I was
it was
saying.
either it was either hitting the post.
I
or
was
going
saying,
wide.
I was saying at the time Sancho messed it up because he was taking
Yeah.
too long to shoot. I was like, he's absolutely effed it at this point, and
Yeah.
then Willian
then-
helps us out.
Then Willian loses his head, and then Marco Silva loses his head. Then Mitrovic loses his head.
But the thing is, like, there's a different reality where Bruno misses that pen. You shouldn't lose your head over just a penalty.
I know.
There could be a chance where he misses it.
But I think, and this is what Marco Silva said before, they thought Fulham should have had a penalty in the first half that wasn't reviewed. So Chris Kavanagh. I mean, he's under so much pressure. He's got someone in his ear talking to him at the VAR. He's got Marco Silva in his other ear. Then he's got Mitrovic running to him that are built a red flag. Just, I mean, I think
it went so quick that I didn't even know Marcus Silva got sent off until he was walking down the tunnel.
yeah. I mean, it was what's his face? It was who was the commentary? It was I think was it Alan McCoist? Might have been Alan McCoist or something.
I think it might have been.
He's like, Marco Silva's been sent off as well. I'm like, for what? And they see him. I'm like, geez, what's going on? Absolutely, it is. I mean, it's crazy.
And it's hard to actually say that because you as the manager, you lost your head. How are you going to go at your other player for losing? Because that's what they were saying in the commentary. How are you going to give out your player for losing his head when you lost your head just a second before that?
Yeah. I mean, Harry, what do you think about the game?
Yeah, I think, like you say, it's a game where Fulham had control, and I thought Fulham were going to get the job done. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I was wrong, but I sat there thinking Fulham have got control of this. They could make a goal on the counter attack. Man United, it just didn't look like the team that we've seen under Erik ten Hag this season. I didn't think they were fantastic at all. Game plan was working for Fulham. That changed within 40, maybe even 60, seconds. I think it got 3 red cards? Willian, Mitrovic, and Marco Silva. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, Mitrovic, for me, is a clear red, but at the same time, we have seen other incidents like that haven't been a red card, but definitely how that's debatable. How that's debatable is ridiculous.
The difference between that
Bruno Fernandes against
we were already 7-0 down at that
is
point.
one.
We were down 7-0 at that point. That the assistant didn't put it in his report because of that. He would have got banned if he wrote it down. He didn't write it down whatsoever in his report.
No, but I thought Fulham, they lost their heads. I mean, Marco Silva, I mean, when you got a player or two already sent off, and as a manager, you got to keep cool, control the situation, because Fulham at that point, still in the game, even when Mitrovic goes, even when Willian goes, but, they just completely lost their heads, and perhaps, that's something that you wouldn't see like Man United or another big club doing. I think bigger picture.
1-1 to 2-1, and
Fulham still had a successful season. I'm sure their fans will forgive. Likes of Marco Silva and Mitrovic and Willian have been important to them this season. But
although it looks like they're going to make an example of Mitrovic now.
Yeah, have we heard any more on a potential ban?
They're looking at basically the rest of the season is what the people are talking about.
That's massive for them. If they don't have Mitrovic for the rest of this season, he's been so good for them.
Yeah,
and then what I liked during that entire controversy of everyone getting sent off, you just see Luke Shaw and Tete just having a hug.
Just chilling out.
It's like what the hell's happening?
I think Tete brought the popcorn, so that's what I think they're just having. But so who's out of the teams we've got left? So Manchester City versus Sheffield United in the first game, and then Brighton versus Manchester United in the second semi-final. Do you think it's going to be a Manchester derby for the final, or do you think Brighton
I
can
think
upset the apple
We've
cart?
never had a Manchester derby final. In the cup.
Exactly.
England
That's
Cup
what my point was
competition.
going to be.
Yeah, I hope it is, and that would be really interesting. But
We have to play a lot better to beat Brighton than we did against
Yeah.
Fulham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You definitely do.
and I think because he can't. Our problem is he can't trust that second. You've got our first 11 that has played really well this season, but anytime he's got to make a change, that is when we
And the
struggle.
only positive with that
Same
is
with
that
Spurs.
from the only positive for that is, speaking of Spurs as well, Christian Eriksen is back for that semi-final.
That is huge. Ericsson being back is huge. So is Tony Martial as well.
He'd probably be injured again by the time we get
Yeah,
to
he'll be.
that.
He's injured. I'm just here
Yeah.
breaking news. Tony Marshall's broke his nail. He's out for the rest of the season. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it was a good weekend for the FA Cup. That was a very good weekend for the FA Cup. For always concerned. So sorry, Harry, we're going to have to speak about this. Arsenal 4, Crystal Palace 1. Arsenal marching towards the title. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
How dare you? Yeah, it's true though.
Yeah, I think Arsenal are going to win it.
Crystal Palace are
Nothing
so bad.
against City, but Arsenal just aren't dropping the points, and they've got that gap.
Crystal Palace is so bad. They could have equalized in this game. They had a chance to pull it back to like 3-2 at one point and have a chance, but then Zaha just completely fluffs his line.
Yep. You've gone from Patrick Vieira last season had a really good season at Palace, and he's not won a game this year.
Yeah. Go back to Roy.
Palace.
They've gone back to Roy Hodgson. They've got him back out of retirement,
and that's why he's lost his job.
Wow.
I mean, it's
like me getting my granddad out of the nursing home and just say, "You're going back to work. Let's go."
Shove you in there.
I know. Let the poor man retire. Let him retire. Jesus Christ. But yeah, Harry, I know I'm going to have to come to you first. Arsenal 4, Crystal Palace 1. What was your opinions in the game?
I saw bits of the game. I must admit, I only watched a little bit of it. I mean, Arsenal, as they have been this season, to be fair to them, give credit where credit's due. It's hard to say, but they've been consistent, and it's another good performance. They got the job done. But Palace, I mean, I think they could have given them more of a game going into it. I mean, we've seen at times this season where interim coaches, or when it may sound strange, but when you sacked a manager, there's a little bit of that bounce there. The players who want to impress, whether it's an interim coach or new manager coming in. So I didn't fancy Palace at all, but I thought Palace might have a go and they could get a point. There's definitely one point in the game where they got that goal back where I thought, this is still possible. I mean, what was it? I think 3-1 or 2-1 when Palace got the goal back. I can't remember, but they were certainly still in the game. But like you said, Zaha completely fluffed these lines. Zaha last season will be putting that at the back of the net for sure. So yeah, disappointing from a Palace point of view, but Arsenal just keep on winning. I mean, I just can't stand it. But I'm going to continue to stick with what I'm saying, that I think the lack of experience will cost them in the end. I think they've got harder run than City. But again, City, I don't think have been as good as they usually are. But I'm hoping the experience. I mean, you probably disagree, but I hope the experience of City does see them win the title over Arsenal.
I mean, see, to be fair, that's
what I want.
So here we go, right? So Man City's next game is at home to Liverpool next Saturday.
Wow.
That's 12:30 kickoff, and Arsenal have got Leeds. So Leeds are fighting for their lives down the bottom of the table.
But then Arsenal play Liverpool.
And then Arsenal play Liverpool.
Isn't it Anfield, I think, as well?
No. Hold on. Right, so it's Man City Liverpool next Saturday.
Yeah. And
then it is Arsenal versus Liverpool on the Sunday. But Man City, they've got Southampton again fighting for their lives down the bottom of the table. So that's two games. That's two games that could swing it for either team. Plus, then I think they play each other.
Arsenal play West Ham and Southampton before City.
Is it?
Yeah.
I believe Southampton actually got quite a decent record against Man City. as
Mm.
well.
Then-
The last few seasons.
And then when they play City, Arsenal, they also then play Chelsea the week after. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Arsenal going to
Oh.
Anfield is massive. I mean, that's tough. I mean, Liverpool haven't been the same this season, but if you can go to Anfield and win, then they should have so much belief that they can win the
Yeah.
title. For me, that's definitely not a decider, but it can have a huge impact,
Arsenal are not very good at midweek games. So if any of them are them, then
especially
just
not
look
against
at-
Sporting.
I think.
I
I
was about
think
to
it,
say.
no, but if you look at most
I
of their
think
games,
that's-
if you looked at a lot of their games throughout the thing, it's just that every time they have a midweek feature, it's either a draw or a loss for them this season for like
I don't
most
mind
part.
that.
if I'm an Arsenal fan, I'm happy that I'm not in the Europa League anymore because it's a
Yeah,
distraction. I
probably a
think
good
with
thing.
that, I think that will help them not being
Yeah.
in the Europa League going into this title run,
I mean,
especially when City have still got those games in the Champions League as well against Bayern.
and a potential and the semi-final and a potential final
Yeah.
end of May as well.
And
But-
a potential FA Cup semi-final and final
yeah.
as well. So
That's what I was going to say. But so my only thing for kind of my only problem for Arsenal, as Harry alluded to, is their mentality. But my also concern is them if they lose like Sasaka or Odegaard or Martinelli to an injury. There's not much. I mean, I know they've got Jesus coming back and Trossard's came in and he's kind of hit the ground running a little bit. But they've just lost Tommy Asu there for a long time. They don't know the injury. They don't know the injury to Saliba yet.
Saliba,
I was about to say Saliba's injured. Yeah.
They don't know, and that's two key. Well, not maybe not Tommy Asu, but Saliba. If beside Gabriel, they've been a rock, and who they're going to bring in? Rob Holding. I mean,
That's what they did against Palace, and they did all right. But then Palace, like I said, terrible.
yeah, I mean against a better team, likes of Liverpool, likes of Arsenal, likes of Man City or Chelsea, whatever, or even like a Leeds or a Southampton who against, like I said, who are fighting for their lives.
The thing with Liverpool, they need to try and win.
Holding
Liverpool need to try and win every game till now in the end of the season to get top four.
Yep,
Probably finish above us. Not
Exactly.
difficult.
Well, we'll probably come into that a wee bit later on as
Especially
well.
with Ryan Mason in charge.
Yeah, don't. Oh, tough times.
So, next we're going to take a wee trip to the home of the Bratwurst, Bundesliga. Two massive games at the weekend. Leverkusen,
That is
and
shock
Bayern.
at the league table.
Leverkusen 2, Bayern Munich 1. Jono, what do you think about this game?
I was watching the highlights of this, and Bayern just gave two stupid penalties away, and Bayer Leverkusen are playing really impressive under Xabi Alonso since he went in there, and he's done a really good job, and they just paid the price for giving two stupid penalties away.
Yeah.
And but we've said it quite a few times this season. Bayern haven't been the team they have been in the past this season. They have struggled, and they've pulled. It was a few more teams in there earlier in the season, but they've pulled Dortmund right up there now, and I really hope Dortmund can do the job.
There has been another goal in Italy. It is now 2-0 to England.
Yeah,
And Harry will be happy because Harry scored. Harry Kane
perfect.
scored. And it is a penalty.
Oh,
It's
fair
another
enough.
5 million on his transfer fee to United in the summer.
As long as he doesn't, as long as he doesn't get a second penalty, we know what he does with second penalties.
Oh, no. It's always a worry. Yeah.
So he scored in the 44th minute. Currently 2-0 to England. Harry Kane with a penalty. And yeah, that Italy team's not the greatest, shall we say. But going back to our game, we were talking about Bayer Leverkusen and Bayern Munich. Sorry, John.
Bayern just were not as good and gave two stupid penalties away, and Leverkusen made them pay. What's your thoughts, Boom?
Stupid formation from Bayern Munich. I did not like the setup whatsoever.
Okay, Mr. Nagelsmann,
It was completely disjointed.
Harry, did you see any of the game at all?
I didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights. I thought it was poor, like sloppy, if you like, from Bayern, especially the way they conceded the 2 penalties. I thought Leverkusen were impressive. I do fancy Dortmund to get the job done. I don't think this is as good Bayern team as we've seen. And certainly,
Bayern's next game is Dortmund.
Pretty sloppy.
Ooh, that's going to be a cracker. But Dortmund are scoring goals for fun at the moment.
They are.
Which we'll go on to in a minute. What's your thoughts on the game, Chris?
Like we've already kind of said, Bayern Munich, they've not been the team that we're used to seeing this season, and well, especially in the league. They're doing okay in the Champions League, etc. But within the league, it's been an up and down season for Nagelsmann, and you always kind of think on it, right? How much pressure is he under to keep on winning title after title at Bayern? If Bayern don't win this title this year,
I think he's gone.
Do you think he could be going? And
they would have to win the Champions League to justify keeping him. They don't.
Yeah. I mean,
one or the other.
I'm a few years back. I really rated Nagelsmann as manager, and it was roughly after we got rid of Jose, and I was saying about his name as a potential thing for quite a few years, but it just hasn't fitted at Bayern.
We also got to keep in mind with Bayern, they got rid of Robert Lewandowski and didn't really replace him with anyone.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Good point.
I mean, the way I see Bayern Munich, they are a team in transition. They're trying to bring through a lot of more younger players, but they've still got that kind of core like of your Mullers, your Kimmich. You've still got Neuer still there, but obviously he's injured for the season. Will he be there this summer?
The Wonder Man of Choupo-Moting.
Yep, Mr. Choupo-Moting as well. But as you said there, Jono, they've not replaced Lewandowski. I mean, he was your main goal scorer. Are you bringing Sadio Mane, who's not a guy who's going to get you 30, 40 goals a season? He'll get you maybe 10, 15. But you've got like Musiala, who's not getting that kind of target man like he did last time with Lewandowski there as well. So it's a bit of a transition.
It's been mentioned before, and I'd like to see Harry's point on this. Like we made the joke about United and Harry Kane because it's the links are just not going away. But last year there was a lot of rumours with Bayern, and I actually love to see him go abroad and like give it a try at a Bayern and just see. Obviously, he'll win trophies if he goes to Bayern, and I just love to see it. As a neutral.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've got to the point where I can't blame Kane whatever he does, as long as he doesn't go to Chelsea and Arsenal. He won't go to West Ham, but as long as he doesn't go to a rival club. I don't want to see him playing in the Premier League, but I kind of respect that because he's done a lot for the club, and we will be in a lot worse place without him. I hate to use the term Harry Kane FC or relying on him, but we have, and we can't ignore that. This season makes me recognise it more than most. But I mean, I want to know what you think of this, but I can see him going to Man United. I don't see Weghorst being your long-term answer.
Oh no, that was never
number 9 at all. I don't think that's going to work out.
That was never a long-term option. It was
never a long-term, and I can't see it working. I think that's kind of short-term until you go for someone like Kane. But like you said, Bayern, they haven't got that number 9 since Lewandowski. Mane's not going to go and score you no matter goals that Haaland's got 40 or whatever in all competitions. Another one that worries me, though, is Chelsea. They need a number 9. And, the money they've got, they come in and say 120, 125 million for Kane. I can't see Levy turning it down, but it's certainly worried. There's lots of clubs out there that need a number 9.
I don't think he'd go to Spurs, Chelsea.
The difference with him staying in the Premier League, he might want to, as many people have said, to break that record that he's goal scoring.
And he can follow that like Berbatov route and go to United and win that trophy.
Yeah, you can do that at Man United. Fair play to him because I think he deserves to be winning trophies. Fair play.
And he wouldn't be my first choice because I wouldn't mind someone a bit younger who we can use for the next like 5 or 6 years, like long term. Someone like an Osman would be my first choice, then Harry Kane, in that order. But that's just long term building a project. I think. That's just how I think. But
I
yeah, what do
reckon
you
you
think?
could get. I reckon you can get about 3 good seasons out of Harry Kane still.
I think
Yeah,
so.
maybe.
I think
Oh,
he's got more
definitely.
left. If you want to win a trophy, you want to that challenge for the title next year. With Eric Ten Hag, I think Kane would be your answer now. Osman may be more in the future, but it depends. If you're looking long term, short term. So I think you've got 2 fantastic strikers there as options.
Yeah. And our second Bundesliga game was Borussia Dortmund 6, Cologne 1. A week and another special one for Sebastian Haller getting a double again.
Yeah,
the
it's
weekend.
really nice.
And
That's a great story after what happened.
Poor Cologne, they suffered enough.
the thing is with Borussia Dortmund, you never know what Borussia Dortmund team you're going to get. You could get the team that absolutely turned over Cologne, or you could get a team that struggled to play Chelsea. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's their games are up and down, and then they obviously drew 2 each in the derby the week before. So it is
big respect to Marco Reus as well. 150 goals for Dortmund now.
We also got to paint the picture. The reason was a poor Cologne. They have a very poor form at the moment, Cologne.
Yeah.
In the Bundesliga.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Ben, what was your opinion on the game? Dortmund versus Cologne.
Dortmund just had too much for Cologne. Like I said, Cologne are just not really scoring in their games recently.
Yeah. What about you, Jono?
Yeah, I think we've all nailed it on the head. Look, you don't know what to you expect, but when they turn up, they're gonna batter you. They've had a lot of 5-6-0 this season.
And they set it up nicely for the Klassiker.
Yep, this Saturday, isn't it? No, sorry, weekend Saturday. Weekend Saturday.
On April Fool's Day.
Yes.
Will the fool be Bayern or Dortmund?
But then look at the Dortmund's next game after that. They've got the Pokal against Leipzig, so they've got 2 big games coming up. In Dortmund.
Yeah. Is that semi-final? Or?
Yep, that's the semis. No, so that's a quarterfinals. Yeah, quarterfinals. Yeah. Harry, what do you think about the Dortmund? How do you think Dortmund will do the rest of the season? Should I say?
Yeah, I think they do well, and I think they go on a win the title. Personally, I think they have that. I think they score more goals. Personally, I mean, Haller, like you said, fantastic to see what he's doing. A lovely story. And it's also good to see Dortmund, because there was a worry, I think, for them when Haaland went to City. How would they still find goals? But Haaland's done a fantastic job for them. I think they go and get the job done personally. But like you say, it reminds me of I can relate to this being a Spurs fan, but Dortmund have been inconsistent at the best of times this season. I mean, the team that turned up to Stamford Bridge, they're better to send the under-21s and not even turn up. It's a waste of a trip.
Yeah.
Over from Germany, but you never know what Dortmund team's going to turn up. You've got Dortmund team who scores lots of goals. Like they went to Stamford Bridge, like I said, that didn't do very well. So it all depends, really. But yeah, they're full of goals, and they remind me a bit of maybe someone like Liverpool this season, who, I mean, typical for you, but against Man United, we're right at it. But when they're bad, they're there for the taking.
They literally went from 7-0 to drawing with Bournemouth in a week.
Yeah, I hope they turn up against Arsenal. I hope that is another example, but you never know what team's going to turn up. Reminds me of Tottenham.
Yeah. I think different this year compared to maybe the last few years is they've had a really young squad, and I think they've got a mixture now where they've got some winners in there as well. Like Hummel's going back there, and they've got a bit more experience in there as well, which I think has helped the season as well.
Yeah.
Compared to being a really young sort of not that experienced, which is important.
Definitely. Jono, La Liga, you want to start us off on that one?
Yep. Barcelona 2, Real Madrid 1, and I'm going to go to our Real Madrid fan in Mr. Boom.
Vamos!
It's a very interesting game. This one, it's a mad deflection off Vinicius's I'm gonna say cross because I don't think he was getting in the net from there.
Yeah.
Hits off Araujo, goes in 1-0 to. And you're surprised because I didn't think after the last few times Real Madrid had played Barcelona this season that was going to happen.
Mm.
And the thing, and then 1-1 later on in that halftime just comes out. It's just interesting. It's always going to happen. And then Asensio thinks he's won it. It was a good goal from him, but
It's a very good goal.
VAR decided to do what it always does and ruin the party.
Oh, it's a
And
great decision. Great decision by VAR.
then-
I love VAR.
We love VAR on this podcast.
and then Cassie does something for once. For
Yeah.
hasn't done anything. But the only positive news from that is that Bayern, Barcelona are being investigated over their referee stuff now. So
I've just seen that. Yeah,
today that came out. So
UEFA are now investigating.
Kick
it
him out.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting.
But the La Liga one have already done theirs and they found no corruption. So
kick them out of Europe. That's what.
they're already out of Europe.
Yeah, but don't let them back in.
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, I watched the game and I thought, do you know, this is probably one of the poorest El Clasicos I've watched in terms of quality. It was just two teams.
It's happening again on the 5th.
Yeah.
The second leg of
The Copa
del Rey.
Yeah. I mean, I watched this game. Right, I sat down, a couple of beers, watched the game, and I was like, "There's no real get up and go. There's no
El
players."
Clasico has gotten worse and worse over the years.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, you remember like Xavi and Iniesta going head to toe with like some Modric, Kroos, and what do you call him? Xabi Alonso back in the day as well. Now you look at it as like, okay, you've got Pedro and Gavi and Camavinga and Kroos and Modric are still there, but there's no real fight amongst them anymore. There's no oomph. There's no surprise package. I don't know if he's all agree with that.
Well, yeah, the way I look at it, Real Madrid at the moment, we compare them to Europe, to La Liga, it's night and day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think the money's
with their
just not.
performances.
The money's just not in La Liga that it was before.
Yeah.
And I think something
Madrid-
needs to.
We've
If they
seen
want to
Real-
compete, I think something needs to change in La Liga.
We've seen the proper Real Madrid show up in Europe, but they just haven't been showing up in the league games. They just look absolutely poor in most of their league games that they just managed to win.
Yeah, I think Real Madrid have been very good, I think, in Europe this season, but I thought they'd do better, to be honest with you, in the league. It's like watching a different team. I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, but I think, that they're really good in Europe. I think they will actually go through against Chelsea. I think they have a chance, winning the Champions League. But when you watch them in the league, perfect example in the El Clasico, it's not the team you associate with Real Madrid. And it's a shame in a way because, you want it to be interesting. You want it to go down to the wire. But yeah, I'm surprised that they haven't done better, in the league.
Yeah, this will upset Chris, but I did see another rumor this week of Jose potentially going back next season to Real Madrid when Ancelotti. I thought you wanted your third attempt at Jose Mourinho.
No, there's been rumours of him coming back. I don't want him back at Stamford Bridge. He's had his 2 times. Won the league twice. I mean, what else has he got to do? That's the thing. Maybe win the Champions League with Chelsea. That's probably about it. But thing is, I hope Mourinho doesn't go to Real Madrid. I hope they go for a younger manager. Because what just Mourinho's 60 now, 61, something like that. I think because they've got a lot of young players coming through at Real Madrid. They need some younger ideas. I mean, they've been linked with Bellingham now more often than not. I mean, that midfield with Bellingham, Camavinga, and Tuchemi, that midfield is absolutely ridiculous. You've got Vinicius Junior up front. You probably have Rodrigo.
And the rumor of Ancelotti to Brazil has not gone away since.
That's not going away at all.
Yeah.
And even, what do you call him, Ederson's now talking about it as well.
Where there's smoke, there's usually fire, so there must be something in that story.
Here's a challenge for you. If you're watching till this part of the podcast, put in the comments who should be the next Real Madrid manager next season when Ancelotti leaves.
It's me. I'm coming. It's going to be me. It's Conte. And our second helping of La Liga is staying with Madrid, but Atletico Madrid against Valencia, 3-0 to Atletico Madrid. I mean,
Valencia are horrendous, aren't they?
what has happened to Valencia? Jesus. I remember Valencia back in the day, like Fernando Morientes, Juan Mata, etc., turn up La Liga, and now they're fighting for the lives.
They've had two different owners that are absolutely tearing the club apart back to back.
Yeah.
They thought when they got bought over like a few years ago, they thought anything was better than our last owner that was absolutely terrible. But be careful what you wish for when you say anyone's better than person. You don't always get what you actually intend by that.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And
it's gone worse and worse. Investment wasn't really put into Valencia, and they've just regressed, and we're seeing this season it actually biting them. And the fact that they come from finally getting a win the week before to now losing again by 3 goals.
Yeah, it just seems like jobs for the friends as well. Like, obviously, if you go back a few years ago when they gave Gary Neville the job, and if you link,
the owner, it's because the owner owns part of Salford, Valencia.
He's part of the ownership of Salford. It's like friends for the boys. One job at Valencia.
And they're very struggling, and they could genuinely go down Valencia.
And Sevilla. It's like Sevilla and Valencia down near the bottom of the table. It's mental. It's like
very surprising.
Imagine if both of those get relegated.
Wow.
That'd be crazy.
Very unusual.
Theoretically, Sevilla could still win the Europa League and get relegated.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Crazy.
Which is why Sevilla have changed their manager.
Yep.
Same as West Ham. West Ham are going to win the Conference League and get relegated.
I don't think West Ham will get relegated. Personally.
No, sadly not.
I think there's too much. There's too many people in that relegation category.
So many. Palace, I think, will go down.
Yeah. So next we do something we normally don't do on this podcast, and we're going to start to do, and we're going to MLS. And over to Mr. Chris for this one.
Yeah. So this is for one of our former hosts, Gormy. If you're watching, Gormy, this is for you. St. Louis City FC 3, San Jose Earthquakes 0. The first team to go 4-0, I think it is 4-0, 5-0 in the MLS for a brand new conference team. It is
fire, aren't they?
Yeah, outstanding. And their captain is a former Borussia Dortmund player, and Roman Burke, the goalkeeper. He is our captain. They've got a very good young team at St. Louis, and they're doing well. I mean, me and Gormy had a wee bit of a chat offline. He thinks they can win a trophy this season. Me personally, I don't think so, because they're a brand new team. They're going to get found out a wee bit every now and again, but they've had a great start. Boom.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Did you see any MLS over the weekend? Or
I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I don't watch MLS.
Well, you need to start watching MLS because it's actually very good.
No, I can tell you, I focus on the Irish League of any obscure leagues. I can tell you, Shamrock Rovers is still terrible in the Irish League.
I was like you. I didn't watch the MLS, but see this season. Well, the start of the season, it is brilliant. Actually, it is very, very good. I mean, you can watch. Apple. If you're watching, we're looking for a sponsor. You can sponsor us. Be perfect. Thank you very much. But you can watch an Apple TV. An iPhone as well, but yeah, came out to 108 countries on Apple TV. But yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, everyone slags off the MLS because they say it's a retirement league. I mean, you've got some wonder kids that you know from Football Manager as well, boom, like Thiago Almada, the free kick specialist for Atlanta FC. They've got a lot of good talent there coming through, and it's going to help with the World Cup as well, coming to North America, Canada, and Mexico as well. So with the MLS expanding, getting more teams coming in as well, it's gonna make for a more competitive league, or competitive leagues, because they obviously split their two the country in two, basically, with the Western Conference and Eastern Conference. But the only way I can see is up for the MLS, and yeah, so start watching it, guys. It is very, very good. It's very entertaining. It can be better sometimes. It can be more entertaining than the Premier League. Be more entertaining than the Premier League sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got not much to add. Just they've started the season really well. Hopefully they continue it.
The closest thing I have connection to them is I put them 1 week into good weekend, bad weekend. That's about it.
We need to start again, guys. It is. I mean, I was a cynic like yourselves. I didn't watch it for a while, but kind of quick segment on it. So LAFC, so Gareth Bale's old club, have now partnered with Bayern Munich. So all the kind of youngsters are instead of going to the Bayern Munich second team and the whatever they play in the Bundesliga 2, whatever it is, they're now going to be shipped to LA to play for LAFC. So it gets them more experience of that kind of intensity of like an actual proper game of football instead of playing junior football, basically.
All I know is Arsenal are playing the All-Stars.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And last but not least in the leagues, a bit of a derby.
Yes.
Ajax versus Feyenoord. John, you want to take on this one because this is your...
Yeah. I've been keeping an eye on the Eredivisie quite a lot this season, and Ajax have been struggling quite a lot. And they did again against a Feyenoord who have had some really great results this season, and are right up there where Ajax should be. And they did it again. 3-2 win for Feyenoord. Well deserved. Very, very poor by Ajax again. I think they've improved slightly since they made the managerial change, but they're a bit of a crisis there at the moment. Like, obviously there was a lot of love for Ten Hag, and obviously Ten Hag's gone to United, and I think they are missing him, and it's falling apart in the boardroom a little bit at Ajax. Van der Sar's the CEO. Some of the staff and fans turning on him after he's been a club legend for so long, and he's got a lot of decisions wrong this year, so he's starting to get a lot of stick, which will be interesting to see what happens for the rest of the season. But very poor by Ajax, and Feyenoord continue to impress. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the Eredivisie, it's always been one or two teams with PSV and Ajax doing the business in Champions League and obviously home form as well. But it's nice to see a change with maybe Ajax not doing so well under the new manager. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really much a key to the Eredivisie as I used to be. Like, kind of watching it back, like you said, when Ten Hag was the manager, and watching Ajax playing the Champions League, etc. as well. But it's nice, like I said, it's a refreshing kind of scene to see like other teams coming through in the Dutch league. I mean, you've got Van Nistelrooy who's in charge at PSV. You had Van Bronckhorst who was linked with he was at PSV as well. So it is. I mean, you see all these young players coming through, like Cody Gakpo at PSV. See them getting their chances.
What's the name? Malassi, who we got from Feyenoord as well. He's not been as good as Shaw, but when he's played, he's had some great games, and I think 10 million we bought him from Feyenoord.
I mean, the league. I mean, again, it's a smaller league that everyone kind of isn't very keen on, because, like I said, it has been like one or two teams that has been like running away with the league. I mean, look at this season. You've got Feyenoord to our top of the league. They've got Ajax, PSV Eindhoven, and Alkmaar very, very close. And then you've got FC Twente, who, as we all know and love, with Mr. Mr. Dutchman himself in charge at Manchester United. Well, not with Manchester United now. Doing well. And then it's a more competitive league, I would say, this season than it ever has been.
Yeah, it's just weird to see the collapse of Ajax. Like, I've always respected Ajax. Like, I love Cruyff football.
They're on a good winning run coming into this game.
Yeah.
It's certainly tight. It's a lot tighter than I thought it would be. At the start of the season. And Ajax, it's strange because remember them. Obviously, we played them. I think in 2018-19, I think Champions League semi-final. That's when I think Ajax are close to their best, if not their best. He's in a bit of a difficult situation at the moment. Obviously, had that managerial change, like you say, and it's a lot tighter than we expected. And once again, they've dropped points in another shaky performance.
They came across Feyenoord, who did score 7 in Europe during that week.
Yeah, good point.
Going into that game.
Yeah.
And Ajax as a whole, just like they've lost a lot of players in that summer. Yeah. And they haven't really replaced. The one replacement they brought in was Bergwijn.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Scotsman, I've seen their centre back, Mr. Calvin Bassey, who's getting absolutely slaughtered by the Ajax fans. I mean, he went for big money. He went for about £20 million to Ajax, and he's getting absolutely slaughtered. I mean, the guy's he's a young kid who done well for Rangers, and that run up to the.
He was linked with some other big clubs as well.
Yeah, I personally think he made the wrong move going to Dutch football, but he could have maybe went down south, because that's where he came from. He came from Wigan, and he got his big move to, probably one of the biggest clubs in European football, and Ajax, but it's just not worked out for him. So maybe Ajax might be having another upturn in kind of players going out and more players coming in, because we're talking about that.
Ajax have to play Feyenoord again on the 5th in the cup.
Yep.
Semi-final.
I mean, here's another thing. Do you think that, see, when the Edson Alvarez, do you think that kind of messed them up a little bit, with obviously Chelsea, Man United, a few other clubs were interested in Alvarez? Then obviously he didn't get his move to Chelsea or anyone. Do you think that's kind of hampered them a little bit as well? That they were maybe depending on that kind of money to bring in more players? Because
I don't think it can affect. It must affect the dressing room when every time you have a good, world-class squad, that the next summer it is going to be ripped apart. And it's happened so many times at Ajax. And as a player, if you know you're not going to get that big move, and you're going to be stuck in there with having to rebuild again, it must be hard for saying,
"That's right, Tim."
Yeah, it's like, oh, we've lost everyone again. We've got to rebuild again every 2 years or 3 years. It's like,
see, that's the problem with your league like Ajax are in. People will want to jump to the Premier League eventually when the club game. Case in point, the one that Chelsea were after and didn't get.
Yeah, Alvarez. Yeah,
He tried to go on strike in the end to try and
to push that move through. But we upgraded him for Fernandes. But now to tonight's big hot topic.
Before we get to the hot topic, I will give you an update. Portugal are 3-0 up, Bernardo Silva, and then Ronaldo scored a penalty like he likes to do.
Oh, Penaldo. So, tonight's hot topic, hence why our beloved guest in the bottom corner here, Mr. Harry Scarf, is here. What has happened to Spurs? And was Antonio Conte right to go on into the team and the Spurs hierarchy? So, question one for you, Mr. Scarf: was Conte right in what he said? And I'll let you go lead us off with it.
Come on, Bud. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. I think that Conte was absolutely right to do that. I think he's just basically saying what all us fans knew for a long while. Like, for example, saying the players can't cope under pressure. They're not used to this winning. They're lazy, blah, blah, blah. Stuff we all knew. And also calling out the board, the hierarchy, the owners, something that us fans want to see. So I think he sprayed at him. Perhaps you can question the professionalism of it. My only criticism of the interview is that he didn't accept any of the blame himself. Perhaps that's because he didn't get asked the question, maybe partly. But if I'm in any situation, you may think the players are lazy and can't cope under the situation. You may think the board haven't backed me. I agree with him in that terms. But at the end of the day, he's the manager. He's got to take responsibility. He picks the team. He picks the formation, the tactics. And he's got to take, for me, responsibility for that. So I think he's not the problem, but he's definitely part of the problem. But it's good to see him basically express his opinions, which I've always said I think players as well should be able to do. I always like to see that. And I don't have a problem with what he said. I know the club will, and that's probably why he may still get sacked during the international break. I think that's a big possibility at the moment as we speak. Who knows what's going on? Who knows his Spurs? But yeah, I think he's entitled and right what he said, and I agree with everything he said. It's just that not taking the blame himself. First, it all comes under his ego.
Yeah, it's one thing you get with Conte if you hire him and it does go wrong. His ego's there, and it's similar to Jose. That ego's there, and he thinks he's the dog's bollocks. And if you do get that wrong, and don't back him or don't show him the love he deserves, he will fight back.
Yeah, I think personally we've kind of made the same mistake twice. I mean, sacking Pochettino, looking back on it, I think us fans can all agree, that was a mistake at the time. But you can understand Levy's thinking, Pochettino done well, got us close. Let's bring someone in like a Mourinho, and then Conte in the end to get us over the line. But I think it proved that Pochettino overachieved with that squad. And one thing that doesn't go well with some large section of Spurs fans, but I think Conte is massively underachieving what he's got this season. Fantastic what he done last season, but he should be getting more out of this squad. There's players like, obviously, I hate to name them, but like Davis and Dyer, who aren't the quality of the club and still shouldn't be here. But overall, as a squad, that first 11's got some individual world-class players in there. Kane, Son, Kulusevski, we should be getting more out of the team. And when things aren't going right for Conte, that's he's passing on the blame because he can't accept it. But yeah, we won't learn from the same mistake. We'll hire Tuchel and be the same thing, or hire Enrique and be the same thing. But I think whether Conte, I don't like to say Conte's been backed, but I think he's been given what he wanted. Us fans, there was 6 or 7 positions that wanted filled in the summer, and every single one got filled. You got that backup goalkeeper, that centre back, whatever you think of the quality. The positions were filled. Jed Spence, who was at the time wanted by a lot of people. Basuma, everyone thought 25 million from Brighton. Bargain hasn't worked out, partly because of injuries. But again, I think that comes down to the manager, Richarlison. Big name, big money. It says it all. Perisic, it's a Conte signing. So there's some big names. The money's been spent. It's just I would rather us buy less players and spend more. The quality's got to be better.
Yeah.
But the future's so uncertain with the club. You've got a manager in Conte who's looking like he's going to leave, and I think if he leaves, football director Paratici's currently being investigated again. Himself, I think, will leave with him. Kane could leave. You've got Son could leave. You've got Lloris coming to the end of his career. We don't know who our next manager is going to be. You don't even know who our manager is going to be for after the international break, 3rd of April, where we go to Goodison Park, whether it's Conte, it could be Ryan Mason. So there's very uncertain times at the club once again.
I would like to add some breaking news that I've just read from Bild in Germany. They say Nagelsmann has been sacked, apparently. According to them, the Bayern Munich have apparently sacked Nagelsmann. Coming from
probably be the next
your man.
There you go.
Coming from your man. The Bild reported is very close to Bayern Munich. That says true or false. He's wrote this.
Very interesting.
Wow.
So Conte's
That is-
did Bayern.
Yeah. Conte to Bayern, Nagelsmann to Tottenham.
I mean, it wouldn't be a bad shout, to be fair. It would not be a bad shout. He's a young
think that-
manager.
I think that'd be a good appointment, to be fair. But I think,
Be the end
look,
of the world, I don't think.
the problem, look at what I see looking at that Spurs squad, that if you bring a manager in like a Conte, and I had a conversation, my friend runs a Spurs related podcast, and
yeah.
I had them on later early last year. It was just as you appointed Conte. It was the day after or that day, and we had them on, and we were having the conversation. He was so excited to get Conte. He's a born winner, blah blah. But
Yeah,
a Conte team is built on defense. I think, and you look at that Spurs defense, and you just look disaster.
Good enough.
That is not a Conte back line. You look at the back lines that he has had before at Inter, at Juventus before that. He's built on defense.
Yeah, and although I agree with that, and you're right, the defense certainly isn't good enough. I think that's something us fans have recognised and said for a long time. But at the same time, when you have the title elite manager and proven winner, you'd have hoped you've got more out of the players. I mean, as I said, you've got the likes of Aaron Davis. I mean, he speaks for himself. We see him on the football pitch. Mistakes. Wouldn't get into any other top 4 club. Not being funny, they wouldn't. But with an elite manager, I mean, clearly he's a manager and not a coach. There is a difference there, but you would surely improve defenders. Like, for example, Conte, along with Mourinho, especially Conte, is specialist in holding on to a lead, Mourinho as well. But neither of them could do it at Tottenham, for example. 3-1 up against Southampton, 12 minutes to go. Any other club, Man United, for example, they'd get the job done. Piece of cake. But with Tottenham, we find a way to make it difficult. I mean, during that game, that is seriously worrying for a manager who, he lost the plot in the afternoon with the interview, but
it's very interesting with Conte because I listened to just before, like in the press conference, the Ireland game, they asked Matt Doherty about Conte, and he had nothing but praise for him and said, "I hope Spurs stick with him."
Interesting.
Very good. So he spent about 2 minutes praising Conte in that.
I think.
Who's paid him?
I know.
Who's paid him?
He texted him as the question was asked, like, say some nice things about me, would you?
Yeah, please do.
I think
give you a visit.
Watching that interview, and we all know that mentality of the Spurs when they give up, they've not won trophy. The same questions that have been answered, like so many managers before, haven't won trophy in years. The mentality, players don't want to win it. And you look back at, I think the closest chance you had to winning a trophy was the Carabao Cup under Jose Mourinho a couple of seasons back.
You sack him the day before.
You sack it. If you're going into a cup final, anyone in Europe, if you're going into a cup final, there's one manager you want in Europe, and that's Jose Mourinho.
Absolutely. And what Levy and the board will try and say is that perhaps he lost the dressing room. Results haven't been good. We just got humiliated, knocked out by Dinamo Zagreb, I think, in the Conference League, which is embarrassing. But at the same time, I think it was 5-6 days before that final. You don't sack someone who specialises in winning trophies. And I'm someone who's convinced. I mean, we never know. That's the truth. We never know. It's only a guess. Your guess is as good as mine. But I think Mourinho would have won that.
100%.
Win it.
Win
it. Even sacking him after the game's bad, but maybe wait to the end of the season. But understand, he perhaps lost the dressing room, but Mourinho finds a way to win. That's what he specialises in.
Look at Roma. He went into Roma straight away and won a trophy.
Exactly. What's frustrating, that actually links on to what I was going to say. This is the thing that frustrates us. We know if Conte leaves next season, he'll be winning a trophy. Within 18 months, he'll win a trophy. Poch left. He won 2 trophies with PSG, including the title. Found out that he won a trophy. Mourinho, Conference League with Roma. It's that kind of cycle, and nobody's blameless. People like to, but it comes down to our fans as well. They play a part in it. They like to pinpoint blame just on an individual, just on Levy, or just on Conte. Everyone has a part in it. Players, mentality, attitude isn't good enough. Manager, we've got a manager who can't accept when ever that they're wrong. And the same with Chairman Levy, never accepts he's wrong, convinced he's right. And if he's not convinced he's right, he'll never admit it. So you've got that debate, you've got that.
Yeah.
It's the same with Mourinho was here. Neither of them like to admit that they're wrong. So the players play a massive part, but the fans, yes, we haven't won a trophy since 2008, and probably as fans, we do deserve better. I do think that, but you've got to be patient. We should be used to knowing not going to win a trophy. I would be happy, and I'm saying it now, to have like a 5-year project under whether it's Ryan Mason, Michael Carrick, company, or I think have done well. Company's doing well with Burnley. He's taken a risk. But when things aren't working, try it. I would wait 5 years if it meant we had a young team involved in the youth academy and we were, storming, absolutely winning trophies. I could wait 5 years, but the majority of fans, wouldn't. And like with Arsenal, with Arteta, fans, although they were impatient, absolutely they were. The board, they weren't. They stuck with him, and what a decision. But our board doesn't do that. Our chairman doesn't do that, and our fans just couldn't do that. And you've got Arsenal's board, I think, have best interest in the football club. Our board has interest in the business and creating like a multi-brand. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree, and I think if that breaking news is true, and Nagelsmann has been sacked by Bayern, then I think
Fabrizio
I think that's perfect. If you're going to be. If you say to Nagelsmann he's got 5 years, I think he would be perfect for that role.
Fabrizio has now confirmed that he's about to be sacked.
Yes.
Okay. And Thomas Tuchel is apparently the next Bayern Munich manager.
Confirmed.
That's a good thing, because I don't want him as next Tottenham manager. He was yesterday. He was
very linked. Yeah.
He was a bookie's favourites next week to take over from Conte. So I hope that he goes.
He's now Bayern Munich manager.
You do have your board do have obsession with ex-Chelsea managers.
Don't. We're rivals with them, and you've got Levy and Abramovich who wouldn't do business with each other. It doesn't make sense. It was swapping managers backwards and forwards. But what's frustrating is they're below us in the table, and they're basically passing on deadwooding managers. Here's Mourinho. Tuchel will be next, followed by Potter. It's a cycle. It goes on and on and on.
Funny enough, John, now that you mentioned Nagelsmann to Spurs. Our person who writes a few of our blogs has said Spurs maybe ? Has tweeted that.
Maybe.
Matt has tweeted that.
So I think it makes a lot of sense.
So that's going to be my next question. So obviously that kind of really ties in with our question. Thank you, Bayern Munich, for giving us the content.
It gave us a nice thing to talk about.
So you. When it's announced next week, you heard it here first on the Football Nation podcast. Exactly. That Nagelsmann is the next manager of Spurs.
I'll be happy with that. Absolutely happy with that, I think.
The second question was going to be, so is Conte going to go into the international break? And if not, who will replace him? Julian Nagelsmann. Harry, so we're talking hindsight, talking about if buts and maybes here. So Nagelsmann comes in.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've kind of written off maybe not written off, but you've not got much else to play for apart from the top 4 position. So say you don't get top 4, say you get top 6, which guarantees you Conference League at least. So if you've got a 5-year plan and you've got Julian Nagelsmann in charge, how many players do you think he'll get rid of? And how much, if Levy was to be kind, how much do you think? Or here's a question: do you think it maybe depends on what Harry Kane does as well? What kind of money that Daniel Levy gets for the new manager?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Nagelsmann's a manager. I mean, I've been someone who's been saying this week that Pochettino is the only manager to keep Kane at Tottenham, but I'm going to add Nagelsmann to that list as well. I think the links of Kane to Bayern, that's where Nagelsmann's been there. So, that's interesting. It depends how Levy's going to be leaving.
I think he'd love him as well because he's oppressive.
I think he'd like him,
He cracks back I think he's perfect.
Yeah,
that system.
I see with Tottenham, so many things are uncertain. As I said, this summer's massive. We need a rebuild. Whoever that's under, Kane may not be here. There's so many players that might not be here, and we could be, could be really bad, or it could be unexpectedly. I would say good. But,
it could be what you need, like a reset of that squad.
Yeah, I think that people say, what do you mean by rebuild? And I think the players, the management, the owners would be great, but it's never going to happen. The board have a lot to answer for, I think, as well. But, with Levy, and with the board, I can praise them and go that they've backed is a word that I'm not going to use, but kind of
supported.
In a way back. he supported, financially, Mourinho and Conte. You wanted it to work. Yeah, I could give them that. But the recruitment at this club has been absolutely shocking. I don't know if you know this, but we've got 108 million out on loan, and that's basically taken up between Ndombele and the Cells. That's 108 million out
Are
on
you the
loan.
new Chelsea?
Ridiculous. And the recruitment, but Chelsea's recruitment is better than us. And someone like Ndombele, right, who we bought for 65 million euros, he's not going to go for 15, 20 million. Lo Celso, 40 million, I think, permanently after he's a loan. Then we bought him for about 40 million. We won't get half of that. We're losing money, and it's just baffling.
One of the players in the Spurs loan treadmill all the time is Troy Parrott.
Troy Parrott. I mean, you would have thought. If you'd asked me 3 years ago, I would have said either Troy Parrott or Dane Scarlett would be ready to replace Kane, 2023, 2024, but they're not. They're behind. And we buy Richarlison, who you should be able to replace. I think he's as good as Jesus for Arsenal. That's a similar kind of signing, but he's been disappointing. So so many issues. Covered up by being in fourth place, only because the likes of Brighton have 3 games in hand. They win them, they go above us. We're not really fourth. We're only fourth because we played so many games, but at least got the points on the board.
On recruitment, I'm putting 2 and 2 together here. Nagelsmann's just been sacked. He came from RB Leipzig. Paul Mitchell has just left Monaco, who used to be for Spurs and used to be for RB Leipzig.
Right. Interesting. I'll take anyone new to the recruitment.
The guy the Italian who's in charge of recruitment at the moment, obviously he'll leave with Conte.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
I like that idea. Anyone out of the recruitment team would be fantastic.
I personally think with the whole recruitment thing, I think it could be very good for Spurs. We could end up seeing a very different and better Spurs without Harry Kane, because I feel like some of your players, like the hide behind Harry Kane, will save the day. He's Harry Kane. He's right there. He'll score, and they don't have to try as much.
I think someone like a Nagelsmann as well. I think he'll come in similar to Ten Hag's coming in United, and he'll, compared to before, we'd go in and you'd, like, for example, last summer, before we probably wouldn't have went for a player like a Malacia, like a Martinez, they're not traditional United players that we would have gone for in previous summers under previous owner recruitment and managers. And they Ten Hag signings. I think Nagelsmann will bit where he's a young manager himself as well. I think he'll come in with potential ideas of like outside players like that potential to come in.
Good, yeah.
So is there anyone else you think would be a good fit for that role?
Yeah, I've got quite a few. It's just, why would they leave to come to Tottenham? I could name you De Zerbi for Brighton in terms of what he's done in a short space of time. I think in terms of Brighton work with recruitment, investment, I think it's fantastic. But, we're talking about Brighton, who I think semi-final FA Cup, and could be playing Champions League football, because people go, yeah, but they're behind Tottenham, behind Liverpool, blah, 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 behind this, behind that, behind Fulham. But if they win their 3 games in hand on Tottenham, they get 2 points above us. That is worrying. I can't see Brighton dropping points. I mean, they drew with Leeds, but they look too good to go on like a losing run or whatever. So yeah, sadly concerned. But I would take De Zerbi. I would take Thomas Frank, another one with Brentford. I think he's done a fantastic job.
Really underrated.
Yeah, not many Spurs fans agree with me on that one, but I would definitely take Thomas Frank. Pochettino seems the obvious one, unfinished business.
You could have had Ten Hag a few years ago, but you thought he wasn't energetic enough.
I would have taken Ten Hag, but with Pochettino, again, I think that comes down to Levy. Is he going to accept the mistake for sacking him? I mean, he's not going to ever say it, but will he do that? He's never.
Apparently, Tuchel was very close to with Spurs, but Bayern acted too quickly so snatched him up on you.
Too quickly with us. It makes sense. That's a Tottenham thing. But Levy, Enoch, 20 years at the club, and they've never like reappointed, if you like, a manager that they've sacked. So I can't see that changing. They're not going to accept.
They always say you don't go back, and that's what I worry about Poch.
Yeah, in a way, but he got the best out of the players, and that was the closest to success. But if you want to move on, but I would, not many fans again would, but I would be willing to take the risk with the company, with the Carricks, with the Mason, and as long as I know there's a project there, and I know the youth teams involved, which has gone non-existent by the way under Mourinho and Conte. I know that the football's going to be good because that's another thing, for example, this hasn't helped Conte, in a way. If Arsenal weren't top of the league, and he, for example, he wouldn't have had an explosive run. I don't think we'd talk about him being sacked. That result against Southampton, our Premier League results haven't been great, in 2023, but that run on top of Arsenal being top of the league, I think, tips fans over the edge. But after that rant, actually, I'd say that's brought more fans on side, surprisingly, because they just agree with a lot that he said. So I think he's helped himself in terms of that, but I do expect him to be sacked. But it's another day silent with the club for that. They've. I look into the small things about it, right? They've released their preseason game against West Ham tour, if you like. Forget where it is. In July, there's no Kane or Conte on the front cover. People say that's the usual, but that worries me. They, for example, on Twitter, they've unpinned their usual tweet like they're ready to pin a club announcement. I look into little things like that, so I think it will happen, but it's taken too long. I want the manager, even if it's Ryan Mason, to work with the team before we play Everton. We're talking not next Monday, but the following. Time goes quickly. It'll be a week before you know it. I mean, it's worrying. This is the opportunity to do it. Don't do it after we've lost to Everton and makes it harder to get top four. If you're going to do it now. I mean, I think he has personally lost the dressing room.
I think especially with if you did go down the Nagelsmann route, it is obviously it's pressing football, which is completely different to what Conte plays. So you'd need time. Just look. Obviously, it's a different situation, but with Ranić and he came in, it just didn't work with that pressing system because he did, even when he tried it last season after Ollie was sacked. So he needs time to push that style of football onto the players, especially when they've been playing absolutely. A counter-attack.
It reminds me similar to the Ollie situation. He lost a few games and we thought he should have been sacked over the international break that time, but United kept him on, and then we went to Watford and got beaten 4-1, and then we sacked him when it was like we could have already had the change before in the international break.
But if Levy got his way, it'd be wait till the end of the season because he's going to have to pay him 50 million compensation if you like to say goodbye. You're gone. So he'd love to wait till the end of the season. Levy's dream sitting here right now would us to somehow still get top four with Conte and him to leave at the end of the season.
And it's very interesting with Conte backtrack. It's very interesting with Conte backtracking and saying he didn't throw shade at the board. He was just for the players.
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, we all heard what he said, but then he came out and said it wasn't to do with the board whatsoever. It's solely on the players.
He doesn't apologise because it's what he said. He said something like 20 years under these owners and they've won nothing and they wonder why. Things like that. He's aimed at the board. But the bit I didn't like is when he's clear that he thinks that he has more important than the club, more important than the club's history.
Yeah, he basically said he doesn't.
Everyone expects to win a trophy.
Like they go for like 7th and 8th. I don't do that. Is what it says. I don't fight for 7th and 8th.
We haven't won a trophy since 2008. We're still, we're still a big club, still in the top 6. And we're still a big club. And he thinks he's walked into a mid-table club last season. As good
you're consistently Champions League.
That's not winning a trophy. Yeah, maybe a little bit of a miracle last season, but again, he thinks he's the only one who got us top 4 last season. I mean, I had a little dig with him at a tweet the other day. I said, "Thank you for everything. Thank you everything." Something like, "Thank you for everything you've done last season, Antonio. Thank you for the part you played in getting top 4 last season." Because he thinks that he's just the reason we got top 4. I mean, it's disrespectful, to the players who worked the socks off to get top 4, but. Going back to what I said, there's so many problems at the club. We don't know tomorrow. Something happen, something could be different. There's so much uncertainty, and it's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. We shouldn't be in this situation.
Yep. So to end this segment, I think we've kind of hinted at it already, but finishing question is who's to blame, the manager, the board, or the players at Spurs?
Crikey. It's a bit of everything. I mean, my opinion changes every day. I go from being 100% Levy, unique board out. But one thing I have recognised is that how anyone can put this 100% on Conte is just ridiculous. You know, Conte is certainly a problem. I mean, whatever route you try and take, at the end of the day, it always comes back to the board, or it comes back to the players. To be fair, so I think you've got to sack Conte in terms of he's lost the dressing room. But you know, everyone's to blame. It comes back to the players, the mentality, the attitude, the ego. I mean, look at the facilities at Tottenham. You know, they're privileged. You know, high wage. You know, someone like Dyer, right, thinking I shouldn't really be in here, but I get picked week in, week out, same as I did under Mourinho. Got these lovely facilities, lovely marginal gains. Like every away club that comes to, for example, Tottenham says how nice the facility is, blah, blah, blah. We make it nice for teams. We make it nice for our own players. I mean, they don't deserve that privilege. And I just don't think, for me, you've got to work hard for the manager regardless. You have faith in them. You work hard. I mean, do something behind the scenes. But I think Levy now is trying to find out, you know, has he lost the dressing room? But I can't pinpoint one person for it. I mean, we all like to point fingers. Fingers need to be pointed at Levy, the board, absolutely. Fingers definitely need to be pointed at Conte, absolutely as well. But it comes back to the players again. So finger pointing at everyone. We need to change the whole thing. And you know, but the frustrating thing to finish, you know, if you'd asked me 2018 or 2019 when Poch was sacked, if you said to me we would have had Mourinho and Conte, I would have expected us to win a trophy. And that's how wrong we were as fans, you know, at the time. But unlike the likes of Mourinho and Conte, we can admit, you know, I can certainly admit that, you know, I was wrong. But yeah, everyone for me is to blame. Whether percentage, I don't know. But even the fans come into a tiny little percentage of it, of demanding a lot, being impatient, that they come into it as well.
Even with us, like obviously we had Jose and eventually lost his job there, but even he won 2 trophies even with us in a horrendous. It was a horrendous battle, but at the end, and it ended really badly.
Only club Mourinho hasn't won a trophy at is Tottenham. I mean, what does that tell you?
Yeah,
very much so.
You did see he was sacked before a final, so we never get to know if he was going to win something. With just,
I think he would have.
I said that like I would rather Josie than Ryan Mason for a final.
Yeah,
gotcha. Absolutely.
Yep.
So if you can't see along the bottom, it is currently 2-1 to England, and Luke Shaw has been sent off as well.
Got a yellow for time. Got a yellow for time wasting, and then fouled the player directly after.
Oh dear, interesting end there.
So yeah, 2-1 England. 7 or 8 minutes to go, and apparently the goal came from a gift from Mr. Harry Maguire. Are we surprised?
Who also has a yellow card in this game, Harry Maguire.
But to end on that note, so I'd say thank you to Harry for coming on. Thank you very much, and we hope to work with you again soon. So, guys, this is a massive shout out to everyone who's watching tonight on YouTube or on Twitch and Facebook, and if you're watching on YouTube tomorrow and listening on Spotify, etc. So I want to say thank you to everyone who supported us recently. Just now, we're at 304 subscribers or something like that. We're looking to get to 350, just kind of setting ourselves goal by goal. So if you can hit that subscribe, subscribe and give us a like on YouTube. It helps us out a great bunch. Also, give us 5 stars. Like you're giving an Uber 5 stars on Spotify as well.
And on YouTube, remember to hit the bell.
Exactly, hit the bell as well.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys for coming along tonight.
Thank you.
Where can we find you on your socials?
You can find me at crazyboom _ on both Twitter and Twitch, and Boompool on YouTube, and here for content on podcasts, watch-alongs, and just general content.
And to our guest, Harry, where can we find you on your socials?
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. Thank you for this last minute. Fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Yes, you can find me every Saturday live 11 a.m. with Luke, Dave, and Winnie on Park Lane Podcast. I'm one of the 4 hosts on there. So yeah, you can find us there. I also have my own show for you, those of you who don't know, with Scarfy Spurs Talk every Monday, 8 p.m, which is a relatively new thing. Also, my goal, 350 subscribers, and you can find my tag there, Harry Scarf 22, on all socials, but most actively on Twitter. And also now a football writer for Valve, and I believe I've got a new article coming this weekend as well. So yeah, thank you very much for having me on again.
No problem.
Yeah.
And Jono, where can we find you?
You can find me at jono.tv on all socials and the Football Nation podcast. I just want to add one more thing on what Chris had said earlier. I just want to say a massive thanks for all the support on our website, which we've launched this week. We've had a lot of viewers. FM Hub, massive shout out. They've smashed that website. It's so good. And we've got really good feedback on it. And I just want to thank everyone who has visited the website.
Shout out to Matt for his articles.
Yes.
Yep. And the link to all the articles from this week will be in the description along with the website. So make sure you check that out. Back over to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Jono. And you can find me here on the Football Nation podcast most Thursdays. More often than not, you can find me on the live watch-alongs. And you can get in touch with me on Twitter. I'm a nice friendly Scotsman. You don't get many of those. My name's at Chris_Watt89 on Twitter. You can find me there. Again, thank you for tonight, guys. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.